Hey, thanks for joining us on Cinema Recap today. Hope you're doing well. So today we're going to take a look at that 2017 romantic fantasy called The Shape of Water, where Elisa, a lonely janitor, stumbles upon an amphibious creature that's held captive in a secret research facility, and then suddenly develops a unique relationship with him. Spoilers ahead. So we have Elisa, a young woman working in Baltimore. She's a mute and lives on her own with Giles, an old man just next door. Her residency is right above a theater, and the movies playing are quite audible all the way to her bedroom. And as she's leaving for work, she makes sure to visit Giles and check up on him. Now Giles is an artist and lives alone with a bunch of his cats. Also, his television has legs. Bet you TikTokers out there can imagine we had one of these. And he also understands sign language, so him and Elisa get along just fine. Now Elisa walks to the bus stop and gets on the bus to head to work. She's a cleaning lady at a secret government facility. Her work friend Zelda has already saved her a spot in line to punch in when Elisa gets to work. So as they go to work, we find out Zelda's a married woman, and most of her conversations were made up of her good-for-nothing husband, Brewster. She complains and goes on about him to Elisa as they both do their daily cleaning tasks. Now the two of them walk into one of the rooms, number T-4, to clean up. And Zelda starts making a fuss about all the trash lying on the floor. Mr. Fleming, who's the head of security, asks her to keep quiet before he announces to everyone in the room introducing a new team. The said new team brings in a big cylinder container with the new asset for the facility. Elisa notices the container's filled with water, and she places her palm on the glass, gently tapping it. Something from inside hits on the surface, startling her. Everyone turns to Elisa, and Mr. Fleming asks her and Zelda to leave. Now later in the day, Elisa's taking Giles to a diner. And the guy working there is already familiar with Giles and mentions his usual order, key lime pie.
I am. 2 to go.
Giles is all flattered and fancies the man. He orders 2 of the pies, but when Elisa tries it back home, her face says it all. Giles nods understandingly and takes her plate to save it for later. He keeps it in the fridge with many other leftover key lime pies waiting their turn. The things we do for love. So another day at work, where Elisa and Zelda are cleaning the men's restroom. Zelda goes on about the mess on the floor and why men are like that. Someone walks in, interrupting their conversation. It was Strickland, and he's part of the security team. He gets back to doing his business, and Elisa sees the black rod he'd placed by the sink. And he says not to touch it, as he brags about its qualities. He introduces himself and then zips up before walking towards him. Elisa offers a towel for his hands, but he refuses, saying that a man only washes his hands once. Doing it twice resembles weakness. What? I don't think all guys are like that. Please don't judge us for that. I don't know what he's doing. That man be dirty. Elisa goes to clean up around the sink, and that's when she notices bloodstains on the marble surface. Soon after, they're cleaning the hallway, and they hear gunshots from one of the rooms, followed by Strickland walking out, his hands clutched to his chest as if it were covered in blood. People come rushing in to help him. Mr. Fleming calls the two into room T-4 and gives them 20 minutes to clean that bloody mess splattered across the floor. And as they get to cleaning, Elisa finds 2 fingers cut off on the floor. Zelda freaks out and goes to call Mr. Fleming. Elisa drops those fingers into a paper bag for now.
Body parts.
And when she's alone in the room, her attention moves to the noise coming from that cylinder. She walks closer to it and sees it's filled with water. In a moment, a creature comes closer to the glass, but it swims back and disappears when it hears the door open. Mr. Fleming walking in with Zelda, asking for those missing body parts. Now Elisa gets home and tells Giles all about this creature she saw today, and he's rather dubious about the whole story. On the next day, Elisa goes to have a look at the mysterious creature once again, although this time when she walks towards that cylinder and taps on the glass, nothing shows up. She then finds it outside in the open water. She pulls out a boiled egg and offers it to him. I guess mermen have a thing for that. She takes a bite of it to show the creature how it's done. It swims closer and emerges out of the water, and Elisa is surprised by its form. She stretches out the egg towards it, but it screams. Elisa holds up a hand and stops the noise, its eyes following her actions. She puts the egg down, and it takes that egg before jumping back into the water.
What are you doing?
So Strickland calls Zelda and Elisa both over to meet him, and he interrogates him in his office, showing his newly stitched fingers. Zelda speaks for Elisa and mentions to him that she's mute, and he takes notice of the scars on Elisa's neck. Eventually getting to the point of the interrogation, he orders them that they have to clean T-4, and then talks about the creature that was encapsulated in there. Strickland refers to it as a filthy thing. Buddy, with all due respect, you're not a lot to look at either. So Elisa cleans the room as ordered. This day, she brings her record player to show off to the creature along with another boiled egg, and she plays the music as she eats her lunch. The creature grabs the egg and brings his head up from the water, starting to mimic the tune of the song. She teaches it about music, and just like that, Elisa and the creature fall into a series of just seeing each other more often. She brings him eggs every day and introduces new music, but one day she's seen by Dr. Hofstetler. He's part of the Soviets and is undercover to forward all the information from the facility and their new asset to the Soviet officials. After seeing Elisa with the creature, he informs the officials on how the thing might actually be able to communicate and understand them. So now when Elisa goes to visit her new friend again, it's chained up, and she's shocked to see it out of the water. She hears Strickland coming in and quickly runs inside to hide. He's hurting and torturing the creature. And then he sees that egg on the floor and finds it suspicious. Now General Hoyt and Mr. Fleming walk in to take a look at that creature. The doctor explains how it can breathe in varying conditions. The ultimate purpose for them was being able to use it as a weapon against the Soviets. Strickland's telling the general how they can dissect the thing and figure it out. And that's when the doctor notices the creature having trouble breathing, and he asks for it to be put back into water. He also sees Elisa hiding in the corner of the room. Now when they leave, she runs out too, looking distressed. Now that she knows about Strickland's evil intentions, she tries to come up with a plan. She tells Giles about it, suggesting they try to help it escape and bring it home, but he thinks that idea is ridiculous. She grows more frustrated as Giles doesn't understand her sentiments, and she refers to the creature as he, and explains how he sees her for who she truly is and not for her disability, gesturing how happy he gets to see her every day, but Giles pushes past her and leaves. After a bad day at work, Giles heads over to the diner for some of that pie and eye candy.
Not the counter. Take out only.
But when that conversation escalates, he soon finds out the dude was a racist, homophobic douchebag. So he heads home upset and knocks on Elisa's door, telling her he'll do it, whatever he can to help save the creature and get it out of there.
You just tell me what to do.
Now the doctor goes to meet with his Russian friends, letting him know that the Americans are planning on a vivisection for that creature. He's given an injection to kill it before the others can go on with their process. Elisa plots out the escape plan, checking out all the routes and exits that'll work in her favor. She hears about a blind spot on the CCTV by the loading deck, and that's where they'll leave from. Zelda finds Elisa by the loading deck and she's confused. Elisa goes back and tells Giles about the plan.
I'll remember. You 5 a.m., 5 minutes, 5.
Giles ends up working on his fake ID and his disguise. To all the teenagers trying to get into the club, take notes. At work, Strickland's observing Elisa through that CCTV. And as the man's up to no good, he tips a glass over. The water spills onto the floor and he calls Elisa over to clean it up. When she's in his office cleaning up the mess, he tries to hit on her. But Elisa backs away and runs out the door.
We need to delay the procedure.
Now the doctor walks into Strickland's office and requests him to delay that vivisection. And while he's in there, he sees one of the screens with that CCTV facing upwards. That was Elisa's work.
No, I don't.
It's D-Day, and she's busy gathering wet towels in a laundry cart. She takes it into T4 and tries to pull the creature out of the water. And then Dr. Hofstetler appears, being impressed by her plan and goes to help her out. He tells her that all she'll have to do is ensure his survival. When Elisa makes her way to the loading dock, Zelda's standing there looking directly at her, and she tries to talk her out of it. Giles is by the gate and the security stops him to take a look at that ID, but Strickland notices the unknown vehicle in the CCTV.
Don't do this, Eliza.
And quickly runs to have a look. The security guard finds Giles suspicious and calls him out of the vehicle as he struggles to undo his seatbelt. And then the doctor takes care of the security guard and tells Giles to hurry up. They manage to get the creature into the vehicle, and on their way out, Giles crashes into Strickland's new caddy, icing that cake. and the two get that creature to her house safely. And they place him in the bathtub. She dumps salt in there to help him breathe, just like the doctor mentioned, and Elisa's ecstatic with her new roommate, even getting him a friendship card. Now Giles is having a one-on-one with this creature while Elisa's away at work. I'm not sure he quite understands Giles, but it's the thought that counts. With the creature gone, Strickland's checking everyone's ID cards to find the culprit. He calls Elisa and Zelda over to the office, asks them a couple of questions, but he sees that they've clocked out before the incident, so he's not doubting them. Now the creature steps out of the bath when Giles dozes off. He goes around the house exploring, and he sees some drawings made of himself by Giles and gets distracted by the TV in the room. Giles' cat growls at the creature and he screams back. The commotion wakes Giles up, and he walks into the living room to see his cat being eaten by the creature. I've seen people freak out when roommates use each other's shampoos, but this is way out of proportion. When he shouts at it, it suddenly runs out the door, accidentally scratching him.
When will you release him?
Now the doctor gives Elisa another box of essential bath salts for the creature and asks her when she's going to release him. She tells him it'll be soon when the rain comes and the canal fills up. She hurries home when she gets a call from Giles. Seeing him sat on the floor with a bleeding arm worries her, but Giles tells her to go and look for the creature, assuring her that he's fine.
You're lucky.
Elisa steps out in search of him. She finds him inside the theater, standing in the middle of the rows in awe of the big screen in front of him. She brings him back into the house and helps with Giles' wound. The creature moves close to Giles and takes his hand, placing it on top of his slimy head and placing his own webbed ones on top of Giles' head. Giles is touched by the gesture, but also kinda grossed out. Elisa helps the creature get back into the bath, and she runs her hands across his gills. He brings his hand up to her scars on the neck, but she gasps, takes a step back and out of the bathroom. Hey, that was on you, not him. Now settling in for bed, Elisa stops and thinks over the previous encounter for a second. Something prompts her to get up and go back to that bathroom. Safe to say she spent the night there. I guess they're a couple now, maybe friends with benefits. Sneaky link, I don't know. The next day, Zelda sees a wide smile plastered on Elisa's face and asks her about it. With little words exchanged, Zelda figured it out. The Soviets come to visit the doctor in his apartment. They ask him about the creature's corpse, assuming the doctor had injected and killed it already. So he makes up a lie and they leave, asking him to wait for their call. As Elisa arranges the bath for the creature, she decides to open up all the taps in the bathroom. You know, to give her new boyfriend a real underwater experience. But soon there's water leaking all the way to the theater. Giles, who's in the theater, comes back up and dries his hair after all that water dripped from the ceiling. Huh, he has hair. Giles looks into the mirror, sees hair on his scalp, his bald spot no longer evident, and then he rips off that bandage on his forearm and sees that that wound has disappeared too. The landlord comes banging on the door, seeing all the water that's flowing out of it, screaming at Elisa for pouring it down into his theater. He tells her later about keeping the creature around for a while longer because no hair treatment can do that. Now Mr. Fleming's spying on the doctor as he walks into his house. The doctor receives a call to be ready for an extraction in 48 hours. It's raining now, meaning it's almost time to let that creature out into the canal. But Elisa's not wanting to say goodbye just yet. When she places her hand on his shoulder, his scales start to fall off.
He's in your office.
Now the general pressures Strickland and asks about that creature, threatening Strickland's life if he doesn't get that creature back. On the other hand, Elisa's romanticizing and imagining herself with an underwater boyfriend singing and dancing. Zelda finds Elisa at work crying to herself, so she comes over to take a look at the creature and finds it in a bad state.
This isn't good.
They're running out of time, and she has to release him into that water soon. Strickland finds the doctor shot down by the Soviets. He drags his body and asks for the names of those who have the creature in their possession. When he discovers the truth, he goes over to Zelda's house and asks her about it.
Listen, fella.
Sit down!
Not so politely, of course. Zelda, being strong-willed, doesn't tell him anything. But Webster spills the beans and tells Strickland all about Elisa. Pretty sure that was the kind of guy in middle school to tell on everybody while they were having fun. So Strickland makes his way to Elisa's house, but they've left before he got there.
Damn it.
Giles drives Elisa and the creature to the canal. They walk him to the water, and as Elisa's saying her last goodbyes, Strickland appears from behind and shoots the creature in the chest and Elisa as well. She collapses down and lies beside the creature. Creature gets up from the dead and heals his own wounds, walks up to Strickland and slashes his throat, killing him. And that's what you get for hurting his girlfriend. He carries Elisa in his arms and jumps into the canal. He turns the scars on her neck into gills and saves her to live underwater together. And that's how Ariel was created, kids. You know, this might have been a weird one for a lot of people, but I don't care. Guillermo del Toro for life. Love that guy. Thanks for chilling with us on The Shape of Water. Released back in 2017 by Fox Searchlight Pictures. Movie starred Sally Hawkins, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, and Octavia Spencer. It also won 4 Oscars. Now, watching this one-of-a-kind love story, which character did you fall in love with the most? Elisa or the mysterious amphibian? Let us know with that hashtag Cinema Recap in the comments. Till next time.